Hello my friends, my name is Schmitt Wylde. Make yourself comfortable because now we're gonna talk about Castlevania. Let's talk about a game that helped define an entire genre, Castlevania. I've played through this classic multiple times here on my channel, including the Japanese version. This time, I went back with a different goal in mind, trying to get most, if not all, achievements on it. That is possible thanks to the retro achievement community, who create all kinds of goals for a lot of retro games. And Castlevania is no different. But achievements aside, diving back into Castlevania made me realize just how much I still love this game. So today, I want to share with you my personal thoughts. Not as a formal review, but more of a here's what I think about the game. First of all, let me be clear about that. I didn't grow up with Castlevania. When I was a kid, I only had a Super Nintendo with Super Mario All-Stars, and every now and then I would rent another game to spend the weekend. More often than not, that game would be Mortal Kombat 2 or International Superstar Soccer Deluxe. Brazilian things, right?
This is Brazil!
It never occurred to me to play Castlevania, which in my case would be Super Castlevania 4, being the only Castlevania game available for the system. But anyway, my point here is this series was introduced to me quite late in my gaming life. In fact, I only became aware of its existence when diving into the somewhat brand new world, well, to me at least, of YouTube, with AVGN's video reveal of the game. Right off the bat, the look and aesthetic of the game caught my eye. The platforming and the way you dispose of the enemies on your path really made me want to play the game for myself. And back in the day, the only way for me to do that was with the help of emulators, so I truly believe that this game opened up the door for the love that I have today on retro games. But a little bit of trivia for you guys. Castlevania launched on the Famicom Disk System in 1986 and made its way to the NES in North America in 1987. Developed and published by Konami, the game was part of a broader push to bring more cinematic, story-driven experiences to consoles. The developers drew heavy inspiration from classic horror films, which is why the game is packed with monsters straight out of the Universal Pictures and other horror staples. Bats, skeletons, ghosts, mummies, the Frankenstein monster, a creature that resembles the Gillman from the creature from the Black Lagoon, and of course, Dracula himself. The man behind this gothic vision was Hitoshi Akamatsu. As the director of the first three games, he shaped the tone, challenge, and pacing of the series. Despite his massive influence, Akamatsu mysteriously vanished from the industry in the early 90s, and little is known about what happened to him. Originally titled Akumajo Dracula in Japan, which roughly translates to Demon Castle Dracula, the game was rebranded in the West to the more iconic Castlevania. This was the start of a franchise that would span decades and influence countless other games. The gameplay in Castlevania is deliberately paced and brutal. You play as Simon Belmont, a vampire hunter wielding a whip called the Vampire Killer. Combat is tight and requires precision. Every jump and every attack has to be well timed, especially since enemies have fixed movement patterns and can easily overwhelm you. The game is known for its difficulty, with each of the 6 stages filled with hazards, platforming challenges, and a unique boss awaiting at the end. But that being said, I believe there is a misconception about the game. A lot of people probably have Castlevania on their top 10 hardest games, or something similar. These people are not 100% wrong. Castlevania is in fact a difficult game, but not as much as people made it out to be. Whenever I watch other people play this game and keep ranting about how difficult the game is, most of the time they are not using everything the game has to offer. I'll get that in a moment. Playing the game limiting the gameplay style to challenge yourself is totally valid, but it's not the game's fault if you're not playing it to its full capacity. I say that because I see a lot of people playing this game and not using, for example, sub-weapons, limiting themselves to use the whip most of the time. It's pretty much like playing Mega Man games without using the boss's weapons throughout the stage. A great example of this is the aforementioned AVGN's first review of this game, where he points out on how unfair and unforgiving the hallway before the Grim Reaper is.
The hardest part in the entire game, besides Dracula, is the hall right before the Grim Reaper. You have Medusa heads coming at you from both directions, and two knights throwing axes at two different altitudes. I mean, look at the pattern going on here.
He's got a point. That hallway is rough. But if you go in with holy water and know what you're doing, it's much more manageable. Sure, maybe you lost the holy water along the way. That's totally possible. But again, the game really isn't as hard as people claim. But I'll be fair here, I can't assume everyone who's gonna play this game has any familiarity with it. For a first timer, the game can be deceiving and outright frustrating. And the main reason for that is a single gameplay mechanic that for some reason the developers thought should be implemented. The knockback whenever you get hit. There's also the fact that you can't control your jump mid-air. Once you jump, you commit 100%. But to me, the knockback is the worst thing. You can be at full health, but if you're hit and get knocked back into a pit, you die. And that can happen quite often. Only after you learn the game and learn what enemy awaits you around the corner that it becomes much more manageable. Clever use of sub-weapons can make your experience with the game much better. Don't be afraid to use the items, you have plenty of ammunitions to use the sub-weapons a lot of the time. And by the way, the sub-weapons on this Castlevania game, as many of you probably already know, is the hearts. And the game actually encourages for you to use the items, since the more you use it, the greater are your chances of getting upgrades that increase the amount of sub-weapons that you can use at once, known as the 2 and the 3 icons you collect along the way. I'll tell you right now, the holy water is the GOAT of all sub-weapons. You throw it and it creates a small flame that can stun lock the enemy in place. Adding to the fact that you can have a ×3 multiplier, most bosses in the game become a joke when you deal with them using the holy water. Another very good one is the cross, or the boomerang as some people like to call it. Well, as a matter of fact, every sub-weapon has its uses, in the right circumstance. However, all of that goes out the window when you reach the second loop of the game. Maybe some of you don't even know about the second loop. After you defeat Dracula, the game starts over from the beginning. The caveat here is it's much harder. You take more damage, enemies are faster, and in most screens there's the addition of Medusa heads and flying bats. A combination made in hell to drive you insane. They are relentless and won't stop coming after you. This is truly the hard mode of this game. Hopefully that's a checkpoint for my 3 lives remaining. No! Ah, you gotta be kidding me! They came out of everywhere. Look at that! It's not even funny anymore. The good thing is, it ends as soon as you reach the level with the Grim Reaper. Here, the game is exactly the same as in the first loop, so if you get this far, pat yourself in the back because you're pretty close on beating the game a second time. Congratulations. Now, at the beginning of this video I quickly mentioned the Japanese version, and that version has an exclusive easy mode. As the name suggests, it makes the game easier. and it does that by lowering the amount of damage you take at later levels, letting you keep the sub-weapons and its upgrade even after you die, and most important, it removes the knockback feature. If Castlevania is too difficult for you, maybe try to get your hands on the Japanese version and play that one. You can play it on the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, by the way, which is available on most systems nowadays. PlayStation 4, Steam, maybe, I don't know, Nintendo Switch, pretty sure. So there are options. And that's it for now, just a quick video I decided to make for you guys, just to share my opinions on Castlevania, a game that I truly believe it's not that difficult once you learn how to play it and how it is its gameplay, you know. It's easy for me and for anyone to say that a game is easy once you know how to play it, because of course if you learn the game, to you it becomes easy, but the point of this video is to encourage each and every one of you to give it a try on Castlevania and not get discouraged by what you might have seen, heard or read on the internet. The game is challenging, but it's also fair. So if you can, give it a try. There are emulators all over the place. You can play it legit on the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, like I said. There are options, and I truly encourage you, each and every one of you, to give it a try for yourself. Castlevania, this one may not be my favorite one in the franchise, but it's where it all began, and it deserves its place in history as one of the games that opened up the door to a lot of other games in this genre. Stick around, because soon I will probably be talking about my favorite Castlevania of all time. Any guesses? Drop them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, also hit the like buttons and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That really helps out the channel grow and helps me out as well. Have a good one, everybody, and as always, take care.